Our first preference is a majority of SNP MPs and a quick procession, as quickly as possible at least, to an independent Scottish Parliament. That's what we're fighting for in the election. We're fighting for Scottish independence. Not for its own sake, although I'm prepared to argue for its own sake, but because we think that's the only way we can get the Scottish economy right. It's the only way we can get the Scottish economy back to full employment, is through an independent Scottish Parliament. Now, say we couldn't get an independent Scottish Parliament a week on Thursday, then our second preference is clearly for a hung Parliament. Why? Because that would be the situation where a group of SNP MPs could extract the maximum concessions for Scotland. By playing the Scottish card, we can win gains for Scotland, in the same way that we saw in the 1970s. In the late 80s, Scotland could once again rise to the top of the political agenda. That would be our second preference. But we may not get either of these things. And if we look seriously at the state of the opinion polls south of the border, and the clear Conservative lead, particularly in the south of Birmingham area where governments are elected, then the reality is that we all might face another term of the doomsday scenario, another term of Margaret Thatcher. Now, the question that the SNP is addressing, particularly to the Labour Party, because it's not really, well, it's certainly not worth addressing it to the Tories, because they're quite happy with the current situation in Scotland, where they lose elections but govern the country. And the Alliance, I don't really think, are in this calculation at all. But the question we are asking the Labour Party is, if we go into the doomsday scenario again, if, as seems likely, Scotland votes anti-Tory but we get another Tory government, what is the Labour Party going to do about it?
Yeah, what do you expect them to say?
Well, first of all, we're going to win this next election. We're going to win it in England as well as in Scotland. And with great respect, Mr. Salmond, the SNP has about as much chance of winning a majority in Scotland
as you have of winning a majority in England.
Opening an oyster with a bus ticket.
And what will you do about it if you don't win a majority?
We're going to win a majority in the United Kingdom.
Dennis, you were asked what the Labour Party would do in this so-called doomsday scenario where virtually all Labour MPs in Scotland and a Tory government in England.
Yeah, well, we shall fight to overturn that majority at the following election, and giving the economic circumstances... Oh, yes.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing as you've done since 1979.
We shan't sell out to the SNP, because I don't think the Scottish people, they've proved that in vote after vote, want independence from the rest of the United Kingdom. They don't want it. You've had your chance, you've failed.
So you're saying that you would rather see Margaret Thatcher govern Scotland from Westminster than even the Labour Party govern Scotland from an independent Scottish Parliament. That's your position.
I believe that to break up the United Kingdom in the way you suggest would be a recipe for disaster for the Scottish people. It might have sounded good when the oil was flowing and it was very high priced. Now the oil is running down, the price is falling. The SNP policy for Scotland is a policy for economic decay and political irrelevance.